I bought a broken PlayStation 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 to see if I could fix them all. Let's take them apart. So let's start off with the PlayStation 1 and then we'll end with the PlayStation 5. The PlayStation 1 I've never actually even played before, and I've definitely never taken one apart before. So this should be an interesting one. Also, I noticed on the back here, this is actually a refurbished one. It looks like it must have been refurbished by Sony because it says for service, contact your local Sony service center. So that's actually interesting. We'll have to see what the inside looks like once we open this up. But let's get it plugged in and see what exactly might be going on with it. Okay, got it all plugged in. Let's see if it'll power on. Okay, we got a green light. That's good. Let's see if we get anything on the TV. You know, after I actually turn the TV on. Okay, and we do get something on the TV. It looks a little garbled, not sure why that is. Let's try putting a game in. And we're gonna try WWF Attitude. That doesn't sound good. Oh? It's like screeching. It is actually showing up on the TV though. That can't be normal, that screeching noise. Stone Cold Steve Austin versus The Rock. I have no idea how to play this. So that screeching definitely worries me, even though it actually is playing a game. I'm surprised by that. Sort of playing, it stopped loading. Oh, come on, get up. Oh. Oh, we... Ah, stop it. Let me move. It'd be nice if I knew how to control this guy. He's just dominating me. So this disk drive definitely keeps, it'll like freeze the game. So there's something going on with it. I think what we need to do is take a look at the disk drive and the laser and see if we can figure out what's going on, because that screeching noise I feel like can't be normal. So let's get this thing taken apart and have a look at that disk drive and the laser. So if we look at it here, wait for it, it'll do the screeching thing here in a second. So every time it does that, the disc like slows down. Okay, and we can't really see anything from here with that disc in there. It maybe that laser, maybe the rails along the laser just need to be greased or something. So let's let go of that sensor and have a look at the spindle motor. It seems to turn fine, that's for sure. What about this right here? Okay, I think that's what we need to get to. We need to get down to this laser and the rails that the laser slides on so we can have a better look at that. And now it's time for the best part. Let's take this apart. I'm going to be using my trusty iFixit ProTech toolkit. So I'll be using this smaller driver. I think this is going to work fine. And then it looks like we've got probably a Phillips 1 or maybe a Phillips 2 on these screws down here. A 1 is a little loose. Let's try a 2. 2 fits in there nice and tight. Yep, perfect. And then one of the cool things about the top cover of that bit set is it can be used as a screw tray. So that's what I'll use it for here. And I'm just going to put the screws in the same kind of orientation as I'm taking them out. So the 3 screws on the bottom will go down here. And then the 3 screws on the top will go up near the top. Actually, I'll just put them on the top, just like that. These screws don't really matter as far as location or orientation because they're all the same size, but with some things it's super important to get them in the exact same spot, especially with things like iPhones or some other electronics. There might be a screw here. There's a little bit of an indentation on that label, but I don't know for sure, so let's see if this bottom piece will come off. Or maybe it's the top piece. I don't actually know. Like I said, oh, there we go. Never taken one of these apart before, so. Oh, here we go. The inside of this is super clean. So, that's pretty cool. It's nice to see an old console like this that is in this good a condition. Okay, and immediately we're just right down to the laser right here. Oh, wow, and that just sits on there. Okay, that's cool. So let's remove this flex cable there. And I think this cable goes up to it as well. There's no locking tab. So we can just pull on that and then, wow, that is a super easy laser replacement if that's something we ever needed to do. That literally probably would take like 10 minutes max. You could probably do it in 5 minutes. Okay, now let's take a look. So this should move on some sort of rails, I think. That is an old laser. Okay, there we go. So we got some gears down in here, some gears over here. These gears still have grease on them. Let's get a little zoomed up on that so you can see better. So these gears right here have some grease on them still. There is some gears over here as well. That looks like that is what is moving this laser carrier this way. I'm going to remove these black plastic pieces, so hopefully we can see the gears a little better. And I think we just have 2 screws and some clips. It is just crazy how simple these are compared to the newer consoles that we'll get to here in a few minutes. It's going to be fun to see the differences as we go along. Okay, so we've got a clip over here, it looks like. And a clip right here. Okay. we go. Okay, we need to get this clip off as well. And if we push that back, that will come off of that little clip. Then this comes out, and there we go. Okay. So there is the inside of the laser for this PS1. I wonder if I can remove this. What I want to do is see if I can figure out what's making that loud screeching noise. And I don't know if it's, you know, this metal sliding on this plastic rail, or it could even be these gears in here. And there's more plastic on metal rails here, although it looks like this one's greased pretty good. I don't know if the laser itself could be making that, but I guess that is possible as well. Oh, and then look at this. We got a problem with this spindle right here for sure. I suppose that the spindle could cause that problem as well. Oh, look at this. Okay, so that's a problem for sure. So I wonder if that noise is from this piece of the spindle spinning on this shaft right here. Ah, that could definitely be it. I feel like that could definitely be the problem, because when it would make that kind of like screeching noise, the game would kind of like freeze up. And it could be because the disc was slowing down or something like that, because it was sliding on the shaft right here. So this has to keep the disc spinning at a certain speed, and if this is slipping, it can't really do that. So then that could make it so the disc slows down and makes the game kind of skip or freeze. I think that's what makes sense to me anyway. So we got to find either another disk drive, or maybe we can just replace this piece of the spindle. I'm not really sure. So I got to look around in my parts bins. Let's see what we can come up with. Okay, so in my parts bin, I did find this other PS1. It's a different model. The motor is almost all the way seized up, but this piece looks like it's good on this. So I wonder if we can take just the top of this and put it onto this disk drive and make that one work. I don't know, but let's get it apart and find out. I've also never taken one of these apart. This must be the PS1 Slim. I don't know. I'm sure most of you in the comments will know more about these than I know. Oh, that's not good. This screw is full of rust. I feel like we're taking apart a liquid damaged PlayStation here, which means that laser assembly is probably not good, but we really just need that spindle piece. And if we can get that, I think maybe we can make this other one work. Maybe. We do have a warranty seal on this one, so I think that probably has to come off. Yep. So, right about there, I think. Maybe? There we go. Okay, let's see how bad this looks inside. I think it's gonna not look great. Oh yeah, look at this. Liquid damage all over this thing. But we just need some parts off of this, so hopefully there will be enough good parts on it that we can make this work. I really hope so. Okay. Also, let's just look at this board real quick. Oh wow, that's actually not as bad as I thought. Over here, there's definitely some issues. That's an issue, but I mean, for what this looks like, that actually isn't that bad. But we're not gonna worry about that right now. That's not the one we're working on today. Let's see if we can steal some parts off of this disk drive. Oh yeah, this motor is just totally frozen up. So that's a problem for sure. But we just need to steal some parts off of it. If we can. I've never taken one of these motors apart before, so I'm not even sure if that'll work. So how are we going to get this apart? This top black piece I think should maybe come off. Oh yeah, that's actually coming off already. Okay, that's good news. Let's see if it'll come all the way off though. without flinging across the room. Come on. Okay, there we go. So, it looks like how this works is when you put a game disc in, it pushes on these little balls right here, which then put more pressure on this rubber band thing right here. And that is just press fit onto this motor shaft. So, let's see if that will fit onto this one. So this one's fairly loose, it just kind of comes right off. This one is much tighter. Oh yeah. There we go. I think that might be what we need. Look at that. Okay. So, is that on there all the way? I think so. Okay. So then the disc will fit on here like this. Just like that. Okay. So let's reinstall this and see if that's all it took to fix it. So this top black piece has to slide under here like that, sort of. And then these clips should be able to clip on at some point. Ah! Hopefully that didn't cause any problems. Come on. So this just needs to come out enough to slip over that, like that. Okay. And the ribbon cable's right in the slot like it needs to be. Now we just need to reinstall these two screws and then we can put it back into the console. Okay, screws are in. We can drop this right onto the pegs right there. It's still crazy to me how easy this thing is to take apart and work on. That's all it takes to repair this disk drive. A flex cable, a 4-pin connector, and then it just comes right off. So now we will get the top piece back on. Just like that. Put the screws in, then we can test it. You'd think I would have learned my lesson now about putting things all the way back together before I test them, but alas, I have not. There's something very satisfying about taking something apart, fixing it, at least fixing it until you think it's fixed, and then putting it back together and it working first try. So we'll see if that's going to happen this time or not. And screws are in. Let's plug it in and try it out and see what happens. Okay, and power. Still power's on, that's good news. Let's put the disc in, and then we will see what happens. It fits on that spindle really nicely. Okay, listen for those noises, those screeching noises. So far, I don't hear any screeching. This is great news. Let's make sure the game starts up. Okay, good so far. Zero screeching. It seems like things are loading a lot faster. Obviously, I didn't time to see how fast it loaded before, but it does seem to be loading faster this time. Okay. I don't know what controls anything on this. How does the rock keep doing this? You punk. Leave me alone. Button smashing should fix it, right? And now it doesn't fix it. Stop just laying there. Okay, it did just skip a little bit there. But also I was noticing the game disc is pretty scratched, so that could be all it is. So... Okay, so that noise is definitely gone, so I think we have this one fixed. Let's move on to the PlayStation 2 and see if we can figure out what's going on with that one. Oh, and here's the disc. You can see it's pretty scratched, so that could be the reason that it was kind of skipping and the game would kind of freeze. I don't know for sure. But unfortunately, this is the only game disc I have to use for testing. But given that that screeching is all gone and the rest of the PlayStation 1 seems to work fine, I'm going to move on to the PlayStation 2. Now, looking at the PlayStation 2, it is pretty dirty, but look at this. That is disgusting. That fan is almost totally clogged. So I think before I even test this, I'm going to get this taken apart and clean it out. And then after it's cleaned, we can give it a test and see if there's anything else wrong. And here we go with my very first PS2 teardown. We've got a warranty sticker over here, so I'm assuming there's a screw over there, but also we've got all these feet. So usually if there's no visible screws and you see feet, there are screws underneath those. So let's try removing these and see if we're right. Yep, there's 1, 2, 3, 4. This moves as well, so I'm assuming there's one under here. Yep, and one under there. What about over here? Yep, these also move. Okay, so 2, 4, 6, 8, and probably one back here. Probably about 9 screws. Let's see if we're right. And now that I think about it, there's probably not a screw under here. It's probably just because this is where the case separates. Let's find out. Oh, look at that. Bummer, I voided my warranty. Okay. All right, it looks like this is ready to come off on the back. And it looks like this case is ready to come apart. Can we just pull this up? There. Feel like we're missing something here. Let's try it from the, oh, there we go. Comes off from the top side. All right, that's actually pretty easy when you do it right. Oh yeah, we got lots of dust in here. So now I think we can get the bottom case off. Maybe? Oh, still not. Oh, we got a couple screws in here, that's why. Got a screw over here and a screw right here. Okay, now I think it will come apart from the bottom. Nope. Okay, I guess it's just not supposed to come apart that way. Oh, here we go. Okay. Wow, look at how dirty that is. That is pretty crazy. Let's take a look at the bottom of this. Oh my goodness. Look at this. So, I mean, there's just like so much of it just caked on here. Wow. Now I haven't plugged this in, it's just been sitting for who knows how long, so I don't have to worry about this capacitor being charged. I'm still not going to touch the ends on it, but I do know that we should be safe to work on it because it's been just sitting here for a long time. Probably months, maybe even years before I bought it. So we need to clean that up a little bit better for sure. And then we need to clean this up as well. We need to remove this disk drive so we can have a look under there. Just make sure everything's good and clean. And while we're here, we should probably go ahead and replace the thermal paste. So let's get more of this dust removed. Now to get the rest of this clean, I'm just going to remove these 4 screws, this cable, and I think that might be all, and then we can get this power supply removed. Then we can check out what's under it, clean up the power supply even better. Is it all loose? It looks like, yes. Yes, it is. Okay, not too bad. Another dust bunny under there. Okay. Okay, so next, let's remove this plastic shield here. This shields the rest of the console from the power supply. Just that little thin piece of plastic. All right, now it looks like we need to flip it over and start removing stuff from the other side. I do want to clean this out a little bit more here. There is a good amount of dust over here still. Once I get a bunch of this off, I will take some canned air, maybe a vacuum, and go over it all. Probably won't do that on camera because I don't want all this dust all over my workbench, but I will do that once I'm done brushing it off. Okay. All right, it looks like we need to remove this screw to get the fan out, which will enable us to get the disk drive out, as far as I can tell. I probably should just go ahead and look up an iFixit repair guide. That's what I would recommend anyone doing if they're doing something they're not familiar with. But I also do like the challenge of trying something new and not having a repair guide. And there must be something else holding these on. This one I think must be held on probably by the wires on the other side. Yep. Okay. So I also need to remove that. That's just swinging around here. That's going to cause a problem. So let's see. Is there a locking tab on this one? Yeah. Maybe. Yep. Okay, good. So then that comes out just like that. There we go. Now we can remove this little guy right here. We don't want to pull on the wires too hard because I can pull those right out. Let's try pulling on the wires and the connector. Come on. It's slowly coming out. I just wish it wasn't so hard to get out. Ah, there we go. Whew. Okay, now that's out. Now, is there anything holding the disk drive in on this side? Oh, we got a clip right there. That could be it. Okay, let's try this now. Oh, the fan's just wanting to fall right out now. And we have a Nidec fan. That's interesting because that's the type of fan, one of the types of fans they use in things like PS5s, even now. Okay, so let's give this fan a good cleaning now. Again, I'm just going to be trying to get the bulk of the dust off. I will get more of it off, kind of off camera, because, like I said, I don't want to get all of this dust just spread all over my workbench and my cameras and stuff like that. So a lot of times I just go spray this off outside. Sometimes I'll also spray it off with a vacuum nearby so the vacuum can suck it up as I'm spraying it. That is just so much dust. This is one dirty, disgusting PS3, that's for sure. But we won't hold that against it. It can't help itself. Okay, that's good enough for now. We'll clean it up more in a bit. Now, let's see if we can get this disk drive out. Okay, so it looks like this, it's kind of held in by this piece right here and in the front right here. So first, let's get that part out, and then can we just slide it? Let's remove this screw and see if that loosens this whole thing. I think maybe it will. Not really. It's attached over here somehow, but I don't know how. Okay, that's out. All right, there we go, it just pulls right up. That's easier than it looks. There we go. Now, the disk drive should come out, I think. And it's almost got a ribbon cable, okay. 2 ribbon cables. 3 ribbon cables. So we've got one right here, one right here, one right here, and one right here. Okay, is that it? Nope, we've got one more. With those off though, we can just pull it right out. I think. Oh, nope, there's a locking tab. So let's release the locking tab. Then it'll just pull right out. There we go. Okay, oh, we got a disc in here. Cool. And also a piece of hair wrapped around the spindle. Oh, more than one. What a bonus. So I'm pretty sure this is definitely going to have to be cleaned. So let's do that next. Then we'll get the rest of the board cleaned. And then maybe we'll be done with the cleaning on this one. We can put it back together enough to test it and see if it works or if there's any more repairs that need to be done. Okay, I see 2 screws on the top here. Hopefully these are the only ones holding this thing down. There's probably some sort of clips or something though. Okay. Yeah, there's something back here. Yep, got some clips back here. So one right over here. Oh, that's not bad though. You can just push down and release them. That's good. That makes it easy. Ah! It all just came apart. So what do we have? We have Cabela's Dangerous Hunts 2. I don't know anything about that game, but it sounds kind of like a gimmick, honestly. Hopefully we can get this thing started and see what that game's actually like. Also, oh, there we go. Oh yeah, wow. Look at all that dust. And the laser is just totally dirty. Let's try cleaning that first. Okay, I'm guessing this will probably need a new laser, but let's try and clean this. Wow, that was so dirty. This might actually, if this disk drive didn't work, that might be enough to fix it. I mean, was just so dirty in there. Okay. I'm going to use a little canned air to dry that off. There we go. Okay, now to clean the rest of the drive. Wow, just look at that. That's just so nasty. This thing might work just fine after we get all of this cleaned up. And one thing I like to do on these spindles, there's usually like a rubber piece right here that kind of grips the disc. I do like to make sure those are clean as much as I can. Sometimes it's pretty tough to clean them very good, but I'm going to try and clean this one. All right, let's turn it over and clean more of the inside of the drive. Mechanically, I don't really see any problems with the inside of this drive. I mean, it's dirty, but as far as I can tell, the rest of it actually looks okay. I mean, I do keep pulling hair out of this spindle. I mean, that's not ideal, but unless there's just so much that it's causing it to bind up, that shouldn't be a huge deal. So I just want to make sure we get all of the hair off of the important pieces. Then we'll give it a better general cleaning on the outside. Then we can put it back together and see what it does. One of the things I wanted to make sure and show on the PS2 is the PS logo right here. If you have your console horizontal like this, then the logo looks great like that. If you decide to put it up vertical like this, you can actually just twist the logo, and then the logo is right side up, whether it's vertical or horizontal. That is such a cool feature that PlayStation built into the PS2. Okay, the disk drive is not perfect, but it's looking pretty good now. Let's get it back together, and then we can replace the thermal paste in this PS2. As far as I can tell, we just need to remove a whole bunch of these tiny silver screws, and then I think this metal plate will come off, and we can have a look at the other side of the board, and then we'll get down to the thermal paste someday. Like I said, I've never taken one of these apart before, so I don't actually know when I'll get to the thermal paste. On the other side, there's the heat sink, and I'm assuming after we get that heat sink off, then we'll get to the thermal paste. Looks like all these screws are the same except for these two right here. But can I remember that, or should I mark them? That is the question. I think I can remember, which means I should have marked them. All right, now we should be able to remove, maybe. Let's see if we can get this these heat sinks off. I don't see any screws on this thing. Any more screws. Maybe it's just held down by the thermal paste. Okay, we're getting somewhere. There we go. Okay, we got some dust there we'll clean off. Now let's go to the other side. And I'm guessing this is just stuck on with the thermal paste. I sure hope anyway. Oh man. Ah, there we go. Okay, how does it look? Oh, we just got a big thermal pad. Since the PS2 uses this thermal pad, and the pad actually seems to be in pretty good condition, the PS2 isn't known for overheating or getting super hot, so I don't see any problem just putting this back on. If I do notice an overheating issue once we get this thing started up and use it, then I can come back and either replace the pad or put some thermal paste in there. I think a pad is going to be better because of how thick the pad is. that tells me that there's probably a lot of space between the chips on the board and the heatsink, and in my opinion, thermal paste when there's a thick gap probably isn't the best option. So a thermal pad would probably be better. So I'm just going to clean this metal plate up, and then we'll get it reinstalled and then start the reassembly process. Now, one thing I will do as far as cleaning on these chips is I am going to come through with a Q-tip and some isopropyl alcohol, clean them all up, especially since I was just kind of blowing dust all around on the board. That will ensure that these are nice and clean on the top and we get a really good seal between the top of the chip and the thermal pad. Okay, those are looking nice and clean now. Now we can reinstall that top metal plate and we'll be ready to continue the reassembly. All right, and here we go. I really hope there's no major problems with this because I already have it all the way apart down to the board. So we basically have to put the whole thing all the way back together just to test it. I mean, not all the way, but mostly back together. But I mean, I couldn't just start this thing up without cleaning it. It was just so dirty. Probably would have overheated right away. Okay, that looks good. Now we need to do a little bit more cleaning on this top plate, and then we'll be ready to put that on as well. Or maybe this is the bottom one. I don't even know anymore. I guess it doesn't really matter. Got more thermal pads here. I need to make sure and not get them too dirty. Dirt and hair don't transfer heat nearly as well as these thermal pads do, so we want to keep those things clean. And again, I'm mostly just loosening the dust with this brush. Then I'll come through with some canned air and just very lightly spray it off. That will remove the dust without putting it all up in the air and getting all over my equipment and tools and stuff. So we'll come in with the canned air, just push pretty lightly. You can see that gets most of it off of the metal, but it doesn't get all over my studio. There we go. All right, and now we're just going to go straight down, I think. Okay, and that looks good. Now the two different screws are going to go right here. Ha, remembered. You didn't think I was going to be able to remember. And right here. Okay, to be honest, I wasn't sure I'd remember either, but... Okay, now we can reinstall the rest of the screws, then flip it over and start assembling the top side. Now these ribbon cables have to go in these connectors, but they're like so hard to get to. There's probably a way better way to do this, but I don't know what it is, so we're just going to do the best we can. Hopefully we can get the ribbon cables installed all the way. Okay, I think that one is when we're in where it needs to be. This one shouldn't be too difficult. It is one of the bigger ones. Come on. Okay. Okay, that one is good. Now this one. Okay. I think we have those ones. Just one more. And I think we have them all, and I don't think I tore any of them. So that's good. Okay. Is the disk drive all in where it should be? Oh, nice. We can see right here the ribbon cables, you can see, are installed all the way right up to the black lines where they need to be. I don't see one on this one, but I don't think that one has one. So, okay. So, disk drive is fully installed now. Now I think we need to install this guy after we clean it, and then after that the fan can go in. So I'm not exactly sure how this comes out, because when I pulled it out before, it just kind of like came out, and I'm not sure how it was connected. Although, is that already... I mean, it's on there. Oh. Okay, so we got a tab here that this guy slides into. That's easy. But where does the other one go? So that goes down there. This one... Okay, I think that's just how it goes. So then this screw goes in here. Now the power button can go in. It just slides in right there. And now we can get the fan in. I do need to finish cleaning it though. So I'm going to do that and then we'll get it in there. Now we got to make sure the wire goes down through here to get to the other side of the board, and the fan just slips right in. Okay, easy enough. And with the fan reinstalled, we have to remember how to put this in. This must go like this. Yeah. And then this metal piece goes here, and then we can put the power supply in. Okay, now we need to make sure that these pins go up in here correctly. I'm actually not even sure the best... Actually, is that going on there okay? Oh yeah, there we go. Okay, that looks good. That's how that's supposed to be. And we can also connect this guy right here. And there we go. Now we just need to install the screws for this, and we're getting closer. And now with this fitted down into the bottom case, I think we can reinstall this guy. How does this go? Like that it looks like, which means this. I can't see that. Okay, so got that on there. This will sit down in here. And we can put the other screws on, and I think it'll be ready to test. So I'm gonna get this thing plugged in and we'll give it a test and see if it works or if we actually need to do a repair now. Okay, we have it all plugged in. We'll power it on the back. And press the power button. And we get nothing. No power at all. Okay, well I guess we start there, and now we got to figure out why it's not powering on. Now with the power supply out, let's start doing some basic checks. I did check to make sure that there was 120 volts coming in, and there is. Let's check and make sure the fuse is good. If it is good, the meter should beep, indicating that there is basically no resistance from this point to this point. And there we go. We have 3 to 2 ohms. So between this point and this point, there's not a broken path. So if this was bad, this part of the fuse would blow, and that would make it so there was not a path for the current to flow from here over to here. Now I did a little bit of research online, and on the Bad Caps forum and the GBA Temp forum, they said that this capacitor and this capacitor are very well-known problems with this power supply. So let's just replace those, and then we can see if it works after that. I've already stolen a capacitor off of this old board. This is for a hoverboard, and so I've stolen a capacitor off of that, but I want to test it and make sure the capacitor is good. So this is the one that I took off. I'm going to move my meter over to this symbol right here, the straight line, and then the curved line right here. That's capacitance. And let's give it a try and see what it shows. Just one probe on one and one probe on the other. We get a reading of 49 microfarads, and this one is rated at 47, so I believe that one is good. Now this capacitor is 22 microfarads, this one is 47 microfarads, this one is 50 volts, and this one is 50 volts. Now on this power supply, at least according to the Bad Caps forum, you can replace this capacitor with one of a much higher microfarad and voltage rating. I don't know if that's true in general on electronics, but in this case it is. So we're going to replace this one with this one, and to do that we need to start by removing it. So I already have it marked here with black. I'm going to add some flux and then use some solder wick to wick up all the solder. And then that capacitor should essentially just fall right out. Okay, now just gonna need to clean up my work area here. Get as much flux off as I can. Most of this flux, especially no clean flux, if you use that, you don't usually need to worry about cleaning it, but obviously it makes it a lot cleaner and less sticky and stuff if you get your fingers in it. Plus it just makes a better looking repair. So let's just check both of these capacitors and see if they were bad. This one's a 22 microfarad. We get a reading of 22. Okay, so this one actually was good. Now you might be wondering why I didn't check these with it in the board. And you can't actually check capacitance while the capacitor is in circuit. So that is why I didn't do it in the board. And we've got, oh, it's dropping 7.7 microfarads, and it just keeps dropping. This should be a, what do we got here? 33 microfarads. So this one is definitely bad. So that gives me hope maybe that's all that's wrong with this power supply. Let's get it put back into this PS2 and see if it works. So here we go. Just need to get this part on correctly. There we go. And then this goes over to the other side. I need to put these screws in, and then we will get that power button installed. I did watch a video where my mate Vince fixed one of these when I was doing some research for trying to fix this thing. My mate Vince had a PS2 that the power switch inside was actually bad. So I was kind of wondering if that might be what was wrong with this one, but this one was getting power through this connector just fine. So I knew that wasn't the issue. Okay, good there. Now to install the power switch. There we go. Okay, we got it plugged into power. We have it just together enough to test. Let's turn the power on and see if we get a light over here. Come on. Oh, red light. That's what I'm talking about. And if we power it on, we get the green light. So this PS2 is powering on. The fan's working great. It's spinning up the disc. The disc is playing on the screen, so it's safe to say the PS2 is all fixed. Let's move on to the PS3 and see if we can figure out that one. The disk drive door actually seems to work on this PS3, which is cool. I don't see anything too obvious going on with it. So let's plug it in and see what happens. It looks like we have a red light over here, just very faint, but we do have a red light. Okay, we got a beep. Let's see if we see anything on the screen coming up. Okay, nothing at all on the screen. Let's try it with an HDMI cable. Okay, HDMI. Oh, there we go. Okay, let's try it with a game. Let's put a game in and see if it'll play a game. I bought this game. I didn't actually realize it was brand new though. Never played it. Let's put it in and see what happens. Looks a little dirty in there, but I guess we'll see if it's gonna work. Okay. Oh. So it's not wanting to spin up. Or is it? And it's actually playing the game even. This, I think when I bought this, it said it had like a HDMI problem. Also, I don't know if the PS5 controller works on these, but no, it doesn't. Well, that's a bummer. All right, let's try DualShock 4. See if we can get into this game. Okay, DualShock 4 works just fine. Whoa, there we go. Okay. Through the waterfall. Let's go off the edge. Woo! Okay. So the game is also clearly working. I can't find anything wrong with this PS3. I think when I bought it, it said that the HDMI port was faulty, but even when I wiggle the cable, everything works fine. Now, I bought this PS3 off of eBay, and many times on eBay, you get something in worse condition than you thought it was gonna be, but every once in a while you get something like this that's in way better condition. In fact, this one is working when I bought it for parts. So I always love it when that happens. It kind of helps to counteract the times when you get something and it's not so great. Now let's move on to the PS4 and see if we can figure out what's wrong with that one. So this PS4, you might actually recognize, this is the PS4 that Robert did a cleaning video on, and then I tried to start it up and it wouldn't show anything on the TV. And when I look into the HDMI port, I don't see any initial issues. I'm gonna plug this in one more time and just test it again. Make sure we get a white light. Blue so far. Okay, and it does go to the white light, and we have nothing on the screen. So all we can do now is take it apart and have a look at the HDMI system. Now, if you saw the video where Robert cleaned this PS4, neither of us actually tested the PS4 before he did his video. So in the video where he cleaned it and I tried to start it up at the end and it didn't turn on, I kind of made it sound like it was his fault when in reality, we don't know whether it worked or not before he even took it apart. And honestly, most likely it didn't. I bought this, I think, off of Goodwill, but I don't even remember for sure. But I probably bought it as salvage, so it probably didn't even work before he even started the cleaning. But the nice thing about this one is looking inside of it, it's gonna be nice and clean. We don't usually get to work on consoles that are really clean like this one on my channel. Okay, and now we can get to the motherboard. I mean, let's face it, it probably just doesn't have the perfect amount of thermal paste. Let's have a closer look at this HDMI port. And right away I see a problem. I don't know for sure if this is the only problem, but this pin has been pushed through this HDMI port. This is like one of the original styles of HDMI ports, and these are horrible. They had tons of problems with them because the pins can just push right out the back. So the first thing we're gonna do is replace this with a much better HDMI port. Once we get that done, then we'll just put it back together and test it, because I think this is likely the only issue with this HDMI system. In order to replace this HDMI port, I'm going to heat it from the bottom. And as I heat it, you'll see this solder turn shiny on all of these mounting pins. And once it's ready, it's just going to fall right out the bottom. We have to be super careful not to push down on the HDMI port, as there's 19 small pins on the other side of the board. And if we push down too early, those pins can just tear up along with the traces on the board itself. So we just need to let it kind of do its thing on its own, and I might tap up a little bit on it with my tweezers just to help it fall out, but I'm not going to push down on it at all. So once it's ready, it'll just fall right out, and then we'll come in with the new port and put the new port up into those mounting holes and hold it there while the solder solidifies. Now, sometimes when I'm doing this, if it seems like it's taking a while, I will take my tweezers and just push on the solder around the mounting pins and just see if it's getting liquid. In this case, it is getting liquid, and now you can see the port is starting to fall out. I'm just gonna lift up on it a little bit and then it'll probably just fall out the rest of the way. There we go. Now I'm going to keep my heat on those pins, on those, not the pins, but the, well, the mounting pins. And then I'm going to bring my new port, put it up through the mounting pins, the holes there. Keep the heat on it for a little while to make sure the solder is sticking nicely to the posts. And then remove the heat. Now what I'm also going to do, just to make sure that this is soldered on solidly, is use my tweezers to put some pressure on the port and then come in and heat it all up again. That will help to make sure that it is fully seated onto the board. And there we go. Now I can flip it over and check the 19 pins on the back side. And now with this port soldered on, initially it all looks great, but these pins aren't actually soldered down all the way. So I need to come through with my tiny soldering iron, my micro pencil, and solder these all down. And once we're done with that, this will be ready to test. I'm going to put some flux on these pins first. That will just help the solder flow nicely. And now all there is left to do is clean this all up and put it in and test it. And it's all back together. Let's see what happens when we try to turn it on. We get the blue light, good. At least the power's on. But do we get anything on the screen? Oh, black screen, good. Yeah, we got the PlayStation logo. That means this PS4's HDMI system is all fixed. Let's move on to the final PlayStation, the PlayStation 5. So far we've fixed the PS1, PS2, PS3, PS4. Let's see if we can fix all the PlayStations by fixing this PS5. Of course you need to update. Now this PS5, I know what's wrong with it. I bought it from a viewer who tried to fix the HDMI port himself. That didn't go too well, so he wanted to sell it to me so I could use it in a video. I'm not sure what to expect, but a lot of times when someone tries to replace the HDMI port, but has no experience and messes it up, it can get pretty bad. So let's get down to this motherboard and see how bad it is. So that worries me a little bit. This piece of metal mesh was just squished onto the board. Ugh. This is supposed to go over here. Also, this connector looks pretty much destroyed, which means the ribbon cable probably is as well. No, oh, yeah, it's not great. Might need to replace that. Okay, so far, I can definitely see someone tried to fix that HDMI port. That's not looking great. Also, it's missing the clamp. That's awkward. I'm trying to see if it's missing any other components on the board. I don't see anything right offhand, but it always worries me with this kind of situation where somebody tried to fix it themselves. And I mean, the fact that it's missing screws and the clamp, that makes me wonder how careful they were replacing the port. But let's find out by removing the board, if I can get it out. This is like stuck down. I feel like it should not be stuck down that much. Okay. Okay, that's actually fine. This is one of the early models that had a bunch of this on here. Also, look at this dry spot on the heatsink and the APU. We definitely need to deal with that. But we're here to take a look at this HDMI port first. Let's get it under a microscope and have a look. And looking under the microscope, we can see exactly what the problem is. These pins are not soldered down. So that is the first problem. The second problem is this trace could be broken right here. I can't quite tell. It looks like all of these pins are loose. So that is the main problem we have going on here. It's kind of a bummer because other than that, this actually doesn't look too bad. So we can see that those pins aren't fully down on the board either, so it needs to be pushed down some. Also, the other problem is these mounting posts right here are not soldered onto the board, so that's definitely a problem too. But I would say out of a lot of DIY repair fails that I've seen, this really isn't too bad, and I think they probably almost had it. All that being said though, I'm gonna actually just remove this port because you can see it is melted and there may be other problems with it. So I'm gonna remove it, put on a brand new port, and then we'll see if that's all it takes to fix this one. We also do need to remove that oxidation from the APU and respread the liquid metal. But let's get this port replaced first. Now for this brand new port, I like to come through with some solder on my iron and tin the pads. Just like that, that's all it takes. I'm gonna go over them one more time just to make sure I got it on there evenly and there's no bridges. There we go. And tinning the pads like this just helps these new pins stick to the old pins on the board or the pins on the motherboard. And it makes it more likely that they're just gonna stick right away instead of me having to go through and resolder them. So now this port is ready to be installed. And I'm using a temperature of 1100 degrees Fahrenheit and an airflow of 3. I'm using a Hako FR810B hot air station. HDMI ports can be super difficult if you don't have the right tools. Oh, and this one just came right out because it wasn't in there very well to begin with. So you can see on this one, the plastic's all melted. It's just It just doesn't look good. So what I was saying about the hot air station is you have to make sure that it's a really good hot air station that can put out really nice, hot, consistent heat. Or else you just won't get enough heat on these to get the HDMI port out cleanly. And then you would be doing trace repairs, which is a whole nother thing. Okay, looks great. So now I'm going to get it under the microscope and we'll have a look and see how those 19 small pins did and whether we need to add more solder there or not. One thing I need to do real quick too though is these mounting pins, you can see some gaps there, so I'm actually going to come through and resolder those. These also take a ton of heat, so you need to have a really good quality soldering iron. I'm using a Hakko FM 2027 iron and a FM 203 soldering station. The 203 has several ports, 2 ports, so you can use it for like one of these big irons and then also a smaller iron or various other Hakko products. So I'm leaving my iron on there for quite a while, making sure we just get a really nice connection on those mounting pins. There we go. That looks a lot better. Now we can get under the microscope and have a look to see how those 19 small pins did and if they soldered on all the way or whether we need to resolder them. This is looking pretty good though. I'm going to take these extra solder blobs off over here real quick. And I'll just use some braid to do that. So I'm going to put some flux on it, make sure that solder can flow nicely, just like that. There we go. And again, using my large iron, because this is a ground plane, all this copper, and it's going to take a lot of heat. I'm going to bend my braid like that. And that'll make it so it just contacts basically right in this one area. And then try and get this solder sucked up. Whew, it's taking a lot of heat. I got some of it. Okay, I think that's going to be about as good as we can get. Got almost all of it up. And the rest, you know, we spread around so it wasn't a big blob. Okay, better. Now let's have a look under the microscope and see how those pins look. Okay, and this actually looks really good. I haven't come through to resolder these, and they're actually all soldered on really nicely. This soldering job kind of makes up for that Xbox Series X I fixed a few weeks ago. The Halo Edition one if you saw that video. That was not my best work. This one looks great though. Now, I want to add a little bit of solder right down here to make sure that's a good connection down there. So we'll flux it up first. Just like that. Then I'm going to come in with my small iron and add a little bit of solder there, and that should help strengthen that joint. Okay, and that looks good. I'm gonna clean it up. Next, let's get to the liquid metal. So here we are. I'm actually gonna clean this liquid metal up just using a regular Q-tip and then clean off the APU and then reapply some liquid metal to it. Once this oxidizes, sometimes it's hard to get this APU clean, so use this method to get it nice and clean, and then we can reapply the liquid metal. And I'm going to come through with the syringe that came with the liquid metal and try and suck up any of this excess that's over here. Basically anywhere that it shouldn't necessarily be. I'm going to try and get it out of. Okay, and then we will put it on the APU. Okay. Now these little black applicators, they come with the liquid metal package. So we're just going to spread this on here, rub it into the APU, and that's what it should look like. We'll do that with these other two right here. There we go. And that's what it's supposed to look like instead of having a dry spot on it. I am going to come through and add a little bit more there. Let's clean up the heatsink, and then this will be ready to put back together. So now I'm just going to add a little bit of liquid metal onto the heatsink. A little more. Okay, that should be enough. And then rub it in with the applicator. Make sure we get all of that oxidation removed. There we go. That's looking better. Got a little bit of oxidation up here. Okay, looking good. I'm going to add a little bit more just because these PS5s take a lot. That should be enough. And now we can put this board back in to the shell and start the reassembly. I am actually going to replace this ribbon cable as well because two of the little traces on it are not very good. In fact, I'm not sure it would even make a good connection there. So let's just replace that since I do have one here. There's the new one. Some of the ears on this one aren't the best, but the rest of it is fine, so we can deal with that. There we go. Okay. Now this back on. There we go. And then this goes down in here like that. And then just these three screws and we'll be done with that one. So now we can reinstall this. Then the power supply. There we go, and now we can continue on with our reassembly. Okay, I think I've even found enough parts and screws to make this a whole complete unit. I've got all the extra screws that were missing. I've got all those installed. I even found this piece right here. Oh, it's got so much hair on it. I gotta get some of that off. This just covers up those wires. Isn't like essential or anything, but it is nice to have a complete unit, especially when you're done fixing it. Okay, now just the cover plates, and then we can turn it on and see if it works. We've got the PS5 all plugged in. Let's see if it's gonna start up. Okay, I hear a fan. We got a blue light, nothing on the screen. Oh, black screen, come on. Yes! We have a screen. After repair, okay, so it's repairing the storage. That's normal after it's gone through something like this has gone through. Come on. Let's see that PS logo. That's what I'm talking about. So we were able to fix a PS 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. If you like this type of video, you'll probably like the video where I tried to fix all of the colors of the original Game Boy Play It Loud edition. I'll put a link for that video up on your screen now. Oh, and before I forget, if you're going to VidCon in Anaheim in 2023, be sure to check out the BW100 booth because I'll be there hanging out and I'd love to see you. Thank you so much for watching today and I hope you have a good one.